The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the Riv.
A long weekend.
Yes, and we will not be on Monday. So don't.
That's right. It's a long weekend. Even if we take a vacation. Although it doesn't seem that way.
And that means when Commander COVID comes back on Wednesday, he'll have even bigger
numbers.
That's it.
Okay, here's the numbers for today. As of yesterday, the 119,819 new cases was 393. Total deaths is 8,870. New deaths is 17. Bristol County had 9,252. And according to the mayor, we had 7 new cases yesterday, bringing us up to 1,956 confirmed cases. We also had 2 additional fatalities. That brings us up to 124 now. So I'm wondering, I know that I checked the counts on Wednesday. We're still in the level of yellow. So, I mean, that's a good thing. We need to stay in that level. Otherwise, if we go to red, the school department can't open up and they would have to do remote learning 100%, which I think would make the teachers union very happy. But I know some of the parents aren't happy about that at all. So we have to look at trying to balance that for everybody.
Yeah, well, we have to do what we have to do, but this is becoming, a real fiasco with people and opinions of medical opinions, and is the vaccine coming out, is it a political, whatever. But let's get to the real business at hand. The City of Fall River. CJ, I am got my head almost in the screen here, but because when I was watching our last show, the audio, when I moved for some reason, I was actually just looking at external mics before the show. I'm going to get external mic, so I think that I'll be able to actually I won't have the problem. I don't know whether the mic on this desktop is just I don't know what the hell the problem is, but the audio is just not good. But hopefully we'll be better. But we were discussing a little thing before the show. You want to run that by me again, please?
Yes, people are upset on Facebook, and it's trending a great deal that the city has parking control officers out writing tickets all over the city. And it's pretty bad when Chris Bartley is talking about it. But many people have been talking about it. They're talking about tickets because they're a few inches over the line into the hash marks for handicap parking areas, which I know that feeling because I was about 6 inches over the line and I got a $200 ticket. And I don't know where the parking clerk got the authority, but she cut the fine down to $75. And she said very clearly, she goes, well, if I don't fine you, you'll never learn. So I was appreciative of the cut and the fine. But again, I think that it's getting to be a little bit of a money grab, and everyone's seeing that it's a money grab, that the city is enforcing all of this now. They're driving through neighborhoods looking for expired inspection stickers. That's a $75 ticket, I believe. And they're writing them all over the place. And we know that the city is hard up for money because they even talked about putting parking meters in the Flint, which really upset Carlos Caesar, the president of the Flint Neighborhood Association, and I believe he's also president of the Flint Merchants Association. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out for a lot of these people.
Yeah, and we know this has been going on for a little while because we talked about it a while back. They were out there giving tickets, and I guess they got a new wave now because we're looking at the new budget. And some of these people are extremely elderly or handicapped. They can barely get it into the pocket place. I mean, let's see when some elderly person goes in there and has a fine that they can't pay because they can barely get in there. I understand the hash marks are the hash marks, but when you're an inch or two over the hash mark, I've seen some people that, it's like they're driving an 18 wheeler to get into a pocket place. It takes them 17 swings to get in. And so, look, but the city's desperate. And why are they desperate? See, therein, as the Bard said, lies the rub. We're in we're in trouble because, as I said in the letter to the council, and they ignored it for the most part, that we have to stop spending everything and robbing Peter to pay Paul, because wherever they rob, there's a hole left. We end up with structural deficits with it, which is a euphemism for not having enough money. And every year we've got to hustle, increase taxes, increase fees, and try to find money because we've overspent. Just simply overspent. And the $64,000 question should be, what happened to the $6 million the city should be up in the black for the healthcare? Because as I said, remember, city council is watching this. And I will remind you, the employee trust fund jumped $2 million from 1 month to the next because of the lack of medical costs. People are not getting surgeries, people are not going to the doctors, and obviously it will spike again. However, they should have an extra $6 million in their budget, because if we bump $2 million, their bills came in $6 million under the projected costs. But there is the proof that they're always stealing the money. Because when Mary Sahadi was asked, do you have the $6 million? The answer was no. Why not? Because they never fund it. It's never in the account. And that's why this taking $1 million out is number one illegal, but they never fund it anyway. So again, overspending, uncontrolled, absolutely uncontrolled, lack of fiduciary responsibility, and frankly, a CFO whose only job always has been, to figure out how to get money from the people or the employees. Taxes, fees, and employees. That's where her ATM machine resides. Remember that slogan. Taxes, fees, and employees. That's where they go. They shift the cost to the employees and the health care. They tax and increase fees. But they never stop spending. And it was laughable at the last council meeting when some council, I forgot who it was, said, I looked over the budget and there's nothing else, there's nothing there to cut. Ha! I'll tell you what, I can find a whole bunch of places to cut. And as do you, I know that.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the healthcare again, which seems to be a running story here on our show. But last night I watched on one of the news programs a national actuarial who said that healthcare is going to take a tremendous hit this year because of the fact that during that COVID period, when doctors weren't seeing patients and nobody was getting surgeries or elective treatments, they were only getting emergency surgeries, they are now starting to avail themselves of those medical services. and doctors are starting to see patients in the office now. Also, with the increase in psychiatric admissions and psychiatric treatments, they can't project how much it's going to cost in healthcare this coming year. They can't project it. That tells you something. And as you and I both know, because we've spoken about this, even in Fall River, we're already seeing a spike in the healthcare costs. So, and I believe you said it, this may be the first year that you don't have a savings. So it's going to be interesting to see how the city handles it.
Well, we already know that. What they're doing is putting less money in. That's
Right.
the bottom line. So again, fiduciary irresponsibility. And as you well know, CJ, being in the industry and working, that delay not only is going to spike because people are obviously going to go get their elective surgeries, plus even things like cancer screenings were delayed and things like this, and necessary procedures like colonoscopies, which we get every budget cycle. Every taxpayer gets a colonoscopy. It's not free either. It's at least 2.5 maximum and a fee increase. So, but the reality is, you know as well as I do, this 6-month lag also is accompanied by increases in rates because we know one thing: the cost of medical care does not go down; it goes up. So now, if somebody had to put off one of their surgeries, they're probably they will be paying more for associated medications, maybe even for the procedure. So, in addition to having a spike, which is really an aberration caused by the COVID, but regardless of that fact, it is going to happen because people are going to go to the doctor. They were basically prohibited from going to the doctor before. And what does this city do to prepare? We can go below what they said was the bottom line. So we're gonna get the double whatever you already do get.
It's definitely interesting. Yesterday, I received the city council agenda for Tuesday. Now, you would think this is important, that meeting would be important, that nothing else would happen. But at 5:55, they're going to have hearings for curb cuts. Okay? At 6 o'clock, they're going to start the budget, the finance committee meeting. And that's going to be citizens input first, and then the discussion of the fiscal year 2021 municipal budget. See item 1 below, which is the priority matter at 7 o'clock. Here's the problem. That finance committee meeting, you and I both know, is going to last 3 or 4 hours. And the city council still hasn't had the opportunity to properly vet the budget. Still. And the mayor's still trying to shove it down their throat. And this is the problem. There are no budget hearings being held here. Where are the budget hearings, Councilor Ponte? Where are they? You had one budget, quote unquote, budget hearing, which I thought was a joke. So where is it? You've got all of September to do this, but you're going to try to ram it down the public's throat the first meeting after you sent it back to the mayor. That's a problem. Do you have it out to make sure the mayor gets his budget right away? Because you're not representing the people if you do. The people want to know why we have the deficit. The people want to know why we're in this situation, and the people want to know how he's going to meet the budget needs. And I have said this before, and I will say it again. And as much as I hate saying it, it is probably the only way they're going to meet the budgetary needs of the city is they're going to have to cut down further on the amount of police and fire they give. But Chris Peckham won't see that, and he won't vote for the budget. Well, he won't vote for the budget. I'm not big on cutting public safety. I think that we can make cuts elsewhere. As you have said, you and I have both said we've seen places that cuts can be made. The problem is this mayor does not want to cut positions. He doesn't want to lay people off. He doesn't want to cut positions because his friends will be without a job. And that's the wrong way to be looking at it. Okay, I can think of 5 positions right off the top of my head which can be gone. I can think off the top of my head of a department that can be gone. That's millions of dollars being saved. But the mayor won't listen to me, so I don't bother.
Well, they don't listen to anybody, but as you said, I think you hit a very, very important point here. You know, we continue to say that we need to look at a budget, have a budget that is fully funded, that the sources of funding are there, not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We have to stop this endless spending and have to sit down and really look at the budget and pick it apart. It should actually, next year's budget should start the day after we approve this budget. We should be picking it apart and looking at it under a microscope and hitting it with a fine tooth comb. But the reality is, it is never done. It is always government by crisis. Put everybody under the gun, run around saying the sky is going to fall, and then they get to not really look at what is the root cause of the problem, which we know, but we can actually then prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And this is our problem. As you said, there's no where are the hearings? Where are the why haven't they locked themselves in a room like we had to do when we were in front of the JLMC and bargained from 9 o'clock in the morning to 2:30 in the morning, and the next day 2:30 the next day a.m. until you get it fixed. But no, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna pass it. There's going to be all kinds of dialogue and a lot of rhetoric. And then when it's done, and they'll wash their hands of it. We'll repeat the same cycle next year, which is the definition of insanity. This is what we've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years in this city. You know, gone are the days when we had massive surpluses like Carlton Rivera's. Why? And guess what? In that era, there wasn't a tax increase every year. There wasn't. There were no fee increases every year because there would have been no council. There would have been a new council and a new mayor. But this council likes to let's make a deal. There are allegations, and because there are allegations, I will not go into exactly who they are. But there have been councilors going to the mayor's office playing, let's make a deal. I'll flip my vote, so that narrows it down to the people who voted against it. I'll make if you do this and you give me this and you tell me this and then I'll flip. Well, I'm sorry, that's not the way this is done. We're not trying to barter for an Oriental rug here. You're here to protect the taxpayers of the city of Fall River. It's not about a deal. It's about creating a budget that is prioritized, that is lean and mean, and the citizens will know that their money is being wisely spent. Not sending out the police and the parking people to ticket everybody everywhere and generate as much short-term money as possible. Because guess what? If you begin ticketing stuff like this, one or two things is going to happen. People aren't going to go down to areas where there are meters, unless they absolutely have to. And then they're going to park. Yeah, you're right. You did correct the behavior. It won't be 1 inch on the head into the hash mark. Or they will make sure that they feed their meter. Make sure they don't run 1 minute over. And then where's that revenue? Gone. Just like the million you take out of healthcare when we're facing probably the most volatile year in healthcare we have ever seen in our lifetimes. It's going to be gone next year. So what are you going to spend? The money that you spend to keep whatever you got to keep is not going to be there next year. And that is absolutely insane. That is absolute insanity. And not the way to run a railroad, even a Tonka railroad.
Well, what's interesting is that the cities screaming poverty, that they can't meet the budgetary needs, but they can give away millions of dollars. Remember this, people. I'm saying this right now. Millions of dollars to people like Bobby Karam and Nick Christ and Baycoast Banks for TIFs and other companies for TIFs. This mayor loves TIFs. I spoke to him about it, and he says he likes TIFs. Okay, but we can't afford them. But we're still going to give them away to our friends because, God forbid, we don't give them a couple of $1 million. This is the problem we have in Fall River. This is the problem because, remember, a TIF affects the tax bill because somebody's got to pay that money. Somebody has to. So who does that is? That's you and me, Chip. That's the homeowner. That's the property owner. That's who pays that bill. And that's just not right.
And you are 100% right. And didn't we send all the councilors a link to the report from Columbia, and I forgot the other, Columbia and Yale maybe, that did a study on TIFs and said they actually hurt the economy? Yes. And these are two of the most prestigious colleges in the world. They didn't do like a 1 week study. This went over years. You read that study, it's in depth. It talks about the impact on housing costs, the impact on the economy, the impact on everything. And they came to the conclusion that TIFs do absolutely no good. And isn't it ironic that in the city of Fall River, the TIFs go to the people who need it the least?
Of course.
Chris?
Of course.
It was a bank that's nearly an international bank. That bank has expanded, and congratulations to him for doing it. But the guy's a bazillionaire. Well, he's doing the. Is it a coincidence that they're doing the city collections? Well, I don't know. And he got a TIF. Give TIFs to millionaires. Well, I don't know. That makes a lot of sense to me because that's exactly what the government does. They stomp all over the working man. They throw all these small businesses out, and they blame Trump when it's Gina Raimondo and Charlie Baker keeping these places closed. They ruin our economy for the average person, while the people with multinational investments or millionaires, the movie actors, the elitist rich who can hire their own police departments, who are impervious to what this is doing to the society because they probably got a vacation home over in Barbados or something or some other place. And it doesn't bother them. And they're oblivious. They're the people who have the attitude, yeah, let them eat cake. Marie Antoinette. And what should happen to them is exactly what happened to Marie Antoinette. Because they truly do not care. The city council and the TIFs, I know we sent the link to the city councilors with that study. And who do they give the TIFs to? It would be bad enough. I mean, look, if you told me you gave a tip to a new business that was trying to get in and might employ a whole bunch of people, when you give TIFs to the same old people, let's see how many TIFs these people got. I would like to see how many TIFs that they got and all their associates got over the years. And they're millionaires. They're millionaires. They can't sustain the investment. We have to subsidize it. And remember this extremely, probably the most important point is what CJ just said. That TIF is not a freebie. It's a freebie for them. But that goes into the taxes. And guess who pays? If you're a taxpayer and you're a regular working man, please raise your hand because it's you. That's right. It's us. So you wonder why your taxes go up. And if you look at it, it's more than 2.5. Remember we did that study when we were arguing over the school debt override. We actually had the projection of actually with a 2.5 increase, how much the taxes actually went up, and they went over well over 2.5. This is why, people. This is why these TIFs cost money, because that tax liability goes into the pot. And if they're not paying it, guess who is? Remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and there's no such thing as a free tip.
Well, I'd like a free lunch if I can find one.
Somebody's always going to pay for that lunch.
I would love to have. I would love to
I'll
have
tell
a
you, it's
tip.
great.
Can I get a tip somewhere?
Yeah. Why don't we give some property owners some tips? Why don't we have an incentive to bring actual people with jobs to Fall River? Why don't we have a TIF for the first 3 or 4 years that if you buy property in the city of Fall River and live here and pay taxes? Why don't you give them a little reduction in their rate just to get them here? And if they actually got a job and can afford a mortgage, they actually might stay here. Then again, if we can reduce the crime rate and the drug infestation. But the reality is, at least we'll get people in and they'll see. Fall River is not, it's one of the most advantageously situated cities I've ever seen. We're 30 minutes from the Cape. We're 15 to 20 minutes from Providence and Newport. We're 45 minutes, 50 minutes from Boston. Now with no traffic, you can get up there if you really want to speed in about 35 or 40 minutes you can get to Boston. But the reality is, look where we are. We have access to highways going to all those places. I-95, 24. I mean, this is a really well-situated community.
Well, and we're well situated in more than one way because a new business coming into Fall River is a fish processing plant. And they had the opportunity to open in New Bedford, but they chose Fall River because, hauling the fish down in a truck isn't that difficult. But where they're located is easily accessible to everywhere they've got to distribute that fish after they process it. Also, the fact that we gave them a tip didn't hurt.
Yeah,
but
but at least that tip, you could say, might bring something in. Just like, how long ago did you and I talk about that we have one of the deepest harbors on the top river? Why didn't we do it Providence there and get containerized shipping? We said that a long time ago. But what do they want to do? All they want to do is pick out the big cans and get thrown over the side from the Tipsy Seagull or something. Because we never, ever look at our city. Look, you want to make the waterfront the Riviera? It ain't happening. This is not Monaco or Nice. But we could develop a really vibrant waterfront because we have the ability in that port. But heaven forbid, nobody wants to do that. They want these grandiose ideas about turning that thing into some kind of, as I said, the Riviera, Monaco. We're going to have, Grace Kelly's ghost driving through with it, Churchill flying around, because it's crazy. But again, Fall River can't get out of its own way because we have a government that won't get out of its own way and do the right thing. So it's up to us a year. We got 60 days or less than 60 days to this election. A year from November, keep a close eye. There will be new candidates for all these offices. And listen to their platforms and vote for people who are going to maybe turn this city around.
I hope that we get some politicians that we can elect in not this November, next November, that are going to listen to the voice of the people. Well, we're out of time, everybody. Thanks for watching. Remember, we won't be on the air on Monday, so we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great day. Stay safe, and more importantly, stay angry.
And remember what